I'm in the later stages of buying a home, and that means over the last few weeks, actually few months, I have been filling in a ton of PDFs, editing them, adding signatures, doing a whole bunch of work with PDFs, and very conveniently, UPDF recently reached out and asked if I wanted to review their PDF software. So they provided me with a 1-year license to the PDF software with the AI features, and I thought I would go ahead, use it for a little while, see how much I like it. You know, I use it a lot for all the house stuff. I also use PDF editors a lot for things like D&D and all my tabletop RPGs. And I also use PDF editors in my work as well. So I got a lot of experience using it over the last few days. And now let's talk about what I like, what I don't like. Now first, let's talk about what UPDF is. And it's a piece of software that allows you to edit, read, annotate, convert, and even use some really nice AI features to help assist with PDFs. Now, like many products recently that have been adding AI into their feature set, their AI is a pretty big selling point for them, and they talk about it quite a bit. One of the other unique things about UPDF is that it is multi-platform. You can do it on Windows, Mac OS, but also on mobile with Android and iOS. So you can tell from the UI that it is built around being able to be used both on a desktop and on a mobile device, keeping the same layout, which is really nice. You know, it's not all the time that a mobile layout works on desktop very well, but in UPDF's example, it does a pretty good job. Now, UPDF advertises a bunch of features. As I mentioned, they advertise their AI, the ability to edit, read. They have a cloud service where you can store files, you can annotate, convert. You can do the character recognition, optical character recognition, which allows you to scan in a PDF and be able to properly read those files, which is nice as well. You can organize your PDFs, do batch PDFs, protect them, compress them, and do fill and sign, which is what I've been using quite a bit lately. So as I mentioned, I've been using UPDF for about a week now, and I've gotten a lot of use case across a bunch of different situations. I've been using it for my house stuff, I've been using it for my tabletop RPGs, and I've been using it for work. So I thought I would break down some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't like. We'll kind of talk about its different functions and where it does things really well, where it does things maybe not as well. Then we'll talk about some pricing, and we'll get into my final opinion. Maybe we'll even compare it to another PDF software. But for now, let's go ahead and hop into the software here. This is the main page, the home page layout. And as you can see here, I do have a file that I put in here before. And if I go ahead and open this thing up, we can see these are the D&D basic rules. It's a very large document. It's, over 100 pages. It's pretty large. And the software does a really good job. It's very snappy. It's very fast. You can see me scrolling through quite a few pages, and it does a really good job keeping up. It doesn't chug. Sometimes it takes a little bit to recognize the page, but by the time I'm actually scrolled on that page, it's there just on the left-hand side. It doesn't get it immediately, but it does a pretty good job. So right now we're in the reading mode. Reading mode is super basic. You're able to highlight things, copy things. I can do some annotation on here, which is nice as well. And on the side here, we have these options, and these don't really change depending on what mode you're on, but it allows you to export, protect using a password, stuff like that. Now, if you go into the comment, this is where all the annotation happens, and this is where I've used it quite a bit. You can go ahead and do highlights, strike-throughs, underlines, a whole bunch of text stuff. You can add new text fields. So if I want to add an entirely new text field as a comment, I should probably change that to white. I can do that, and it adds a new text field that is basically like a comment, which is kind of nice. You can also do text callouts, so it'll actually point to something. And you can, do a little bit more specifics there. So if you like editing other people's PDFs or that's part of your job, it's a really good tool for that as well. Now you're also able to just do writing and, erasing and all that kind of stuff. This is done a lot better on mobile than it is on a computer. But if you have like a writing tablet or something, this can be done really well as well. And the only other thing that I really used on here were the stickers. Once we get to the form fill stuff, I'll talk about my experience with that. But you can also attach other files here. You can do stamps, which are very useful. You can create your own stamps. You can import images, and you can also create a stamp using their default layout. So we could say, and then I have a new stamp that I can put on things. So that's pretty cool. Now, the signature function in the annotation, I'm not a huge fan of, because it's either you trying to do it with a mouse and keyboard, which isn't great, or you're just typing in a name. I really wish they had the ability to import signatures in this particular signature window with ones that maybe you create on your phone and then you send it over. I have a signature image that I keep in my Google Docs so that I can import it into particular PDF programs, and it has my like real written signature that I've done on a phone, for example, with a stylus. So it's very similar to my actual wet signature that I would do in real life. Unfortunately, you can't really do that with the annotation signature. Now, on the edit page, this is where you can actually change the layout of things. It does a decent job picking it up. It all really depends on the original PDF and how it was designed or created. But as you can see here, I can grab specific elements and move them around. And as you can see, it all really depends on how the PDF itself was set up, right? So it's going to grab certain things a little bit separately. Some of the titles, if I move them around, there's like they have their own borders, and this may be the way that this PDF was set up by Wizards of the Coast. But just keep that stuff in mind. It does do a pretty good job overall of figuring out what is what and allowing you to edit things. It's a very good job. Fonts are another one that you have to be careful with, because it'll try its best to identify a font, but it may not get it exactly. And then when you replace, so let's say I want to replace the 2018 with 2020, it did a pretty good job with that font. Sometimes it was not able to grab the font that had already existed, especially if it's a scanned PDF or something like that. If it's a digital only PDF that you've gotten, it does a pretty good job. But if it's a scanned one, it sometimes will have a hard time, and you may have to go through some extra steps like using Font Squirrel to try to identify it, download the font onto your computer, and then edit it that way. But overall, it's done a pretty good job for me so far. Within the edit section, the only things you can do in addition to modifying what's already there is you can add text, images, or links. Now, we'll get to the prepare form in a second, but what I want to do is I want to go to the organized pages, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut out the character sheets, because again, this is a very large document and I only want to really modify these 3 pages. So I'm going to select them all, and then if I right click on them, I can go ahead and extract those into their own document. And now they are their own document, unique to the original one. It allows me to edit these as their own. So this is the kind of thing that I would normally fill out. So when filling out a form, if you go into the prepare form mode, if you want to create your own form, you can use it, but you can also have it so that it recognizes form fields. So let's try to see if it recognizes the stuff on the D&D page. As you can see, it does grab some of them, but it doesn't grab everything. And this is one of the difficulties that I've been trying to figure out. A lot of other PDF editors will have something where you can easily put a check mark, an X, a circle, a block, or whatever to fill in things like radio buttons. Unfortunately, the only way that you can really do it is, one, try to overwrite the existing one with your own and then use that radio button. Or you can go into the comment and you can try to use the stickers, but unfortunately these aren't very professional looking icons. So I don't prefer using them, and it was a little bit difficult for me to do and to use when doing my more professional documents for my house, for example, or my work, when I wanted to X off something or circle something or fill in a radio button without trying to replace a bunch of elements in the document. So just keep that in mind. I may be missing something, but it wasn't something I was able to find easily. And if it's not something you can find easily, then it's not set up very well, in my opinion. But other than that, the form fillable section does a pretty good job. I can go ahead and add more fields if I want to and add more text. So I can go ahead and do that. And then if I go to the reader section, I can go ahead and fill this part in, fill this part in, fill this part in. And the ones that it already kind of identified, it doesn't do a good job with the font sizes. So you may have to hop back in here. So you can choose here and just resize the font here to make sure that it fits within the field that it's trying to identify, right? We also get the ability to redact, and personally, this does not really apply to me at all, and I don't think it applies to most people, But if you do need to redact things, you have the ability to do so. So let's go ahead and go in here. You can go ahead, and what you're doing is you basically mark things for redaction, and then someone can go ahead and approve those redactions afterwards. So you can apply the redactions. So you're kind of doing like a 2-step process. You can also redact entire pages if you want to. Again, in my 3 situations, this is never needed. But if it really applies to your particular job, it's nice that the feature is there. I've never really looked for it, never had a need for it. Now, we've already gone through the organized pages. You can do a whole bunch of stuff where you can insert pages, you can remove pages, you can cut pages out, you can split the document into a bunch of parts. It's nice to have this built in. A lot of times I'd have to use like online tools to try to do this. But it's nice having that built into the software, and it's in a really, really nice layout. I really did like the layout of this. It does a really good job of laying out all your pages, making them large enough you can zoom in and make them, way zoomed in if you want. You can go all the way out, but it does a really good job. And again, it's still snappy and still fast. So I like that part. Now you can also crop pages. So if you grabbed a document and, there's a lot of extra margins or things that you don't like, you can go ahead and make pages smaller, which is cool. You can split them into multiple pages as well. So these features are nice. It's very simple, but it's a good simple where it makes it very easy to use. And then finally, on the page tools, you can go ahead and do things like changing a background. So you can add a background to this, and it'll try its best to add the background to all of your pages using partially, I believe, some of the AI tools to do this. It's nice. I don't see myself using this very often, but it's cool that you're able to do this and kind of punch up some stuff, especially if you're creating a PDF from scratch. It's nice that you have that feature. Another thing I want to show you is the OCR, or the optical character recognition, that UPDF does. So I have a character sheet that I had previously filled out here as an image. Most people don't have scanners anymore, so doing things with your phone is usually a lot easier. I've tried it both ways, using a PDF scanner on my phone, using the image one. The image one actually comes out a little bit nicer. We can import that into UPDF. It'll convert it into a PDF. And then what we can do is we can do the OCR. We're going to leave all these as default. And we're going to let that one convert. Now, once it's done, it does not do a very good job recognizing handwriting. And that is completely fair. It does a very good job of recognizing the stuff that was typed in on the previous document. So if you see, like, all this stuff was typed in, so it did a pretty good job of recognizing all of that. And then you can do all the normal things that you normally would on this file. So with this whole situation, if you want to edit things, I would highly suggest you try to import ones that do not have handwriting on them. And if they do have handwriting, don't do the OCR. And if you are going to do the OCR, do it as maybe like an image only, and change the layout types so that it doesn't try to change what all the handwriting looks like. But other than that, it does a very good job with all the actual stuff on here. So that's totally fine. Makes it editable. I can go ahead and comment and do all my fun stuff on there, prepare it as a form, everything like that. So it does a pretty decent job here. And then the main show, which is their AI, if you go ahead and select this, we can go ahead and select our thing. And now we're going to ask it to summarize the PDF. Now, keep in mind, if you're using the AI tool, you are uploading a copy of the document to UPDF. So if it's something it's sensitive, if it requires NDAs, all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't suggest doing that. This may be something that you'd have to clear through your company, for example, if you're doing it for work. And if you're just not comfortable uploading sensitive data to other companies or other places that you don't have control over, I would avoid using it. But for things like D&D's basic rules, I have no problem with it. And as you can see here, it's done a pretty good job trying to summarize the document and all of its sections, using mainly the first 10 pages to try to do that. Now, you can also use the AI to do other things like translate pages. You can use it to explain certain sections of a page, and you can also use it to write. I didn't use any of these features. I didn't really find them very useful, to be honest. And I want to also reiterate that AI is not a full replacement for anything. So if you get a legal document, for example, don't try to use the AI to try to summarize and put it into layman's terms for you. It's always best to have a lawyer look over documents, especially legal documents that you're going to be signing. Don't rely on AI to do that for you. But with that said, the AI does provide some really nice additional features and things that help aid you when doing stuff with PDFs, whether it's creating, editing, or just reading them. So now we've got through all those things, let's go ahead and talk about pricing. And as you can see here, there are quite a few options for pricing. You have Pro, which does not include any of the AI tools. You have Pro with AI, which includes the AI tools. And then you have just the AI stuff as well. And you have it for individual, enterprise, or educational levels. Within those, you also have the ability to do perpetual, which is lifetime or yearly. And to be fair, their pricing is actually pretty good. Compared to a lot of other options out there, like Foxit or Adobe, for example, this pricing is fantastic. I think they do a pretty good job with the pricing. Now, personal opinion, I would prefer doing just the PDF Pro and maybe doing a perpetual for $50. I think that's a fantastic price. It's very good compared to the yearly of $30. If you spend almost 1.5 times that, you get lifetime access, and I think it's a really good price for the software that I'm using as it is right now. It could change, it could, completely go a different direction, and I may not be happy with that, but that's kind of one of the things that you do if you pay for perpetual licenses versus annual subscriptions and you just pay per year. Now, keep in mind with the Pro with NAI, the perpetual you can do with the Pro, but the AI, there's no perpetual license. You either pay for the standard, which is $36 a year, or the unlimited, which is $80 a year, and that changes the amount of files that it will analyze per month. And for one last thing, to compare this against things like Foxit and Adobe, for example, I think UPDF does a very good job with the UI, and I'm really happy with their UI. It does a very good job. I haven't used it too much on mobile. I've only used it in a very limited sense, but it does a good job there as well. And I think their UI is probably one of the best features compared to the others, for example. Now, their pricing is also, as I've just mentioned, fantastic compared to those other options as well. So compared to Foxit, for example, Foxit costs you $13.25 a month. So in just over 2 months of paying for Foxit, you could pay for an entire year of UPDF. And then with the perpetual license, one perpetual license for UPDF is going to be just under 4 months of paying for Foxit. So price comparison difference is absolutely huge there. The disparity is massive, and Adobe is even more expensive. So pricing, I think UPDF definitely has the edge there as well. And for most people, they don't need all of the crazy additional features that those other software suites allow and provide to you. Now, again, as I mentioned, one thing that I'm a little bit disappointed with UPDF is that ability to add very professional, simple check marks, X's, and radio dots to documents really simply and really easily without having to go through and hop through a bunch of hoops or try to find a bunch of things. I wish they would add that, and they might in the future. That's the nice thing about software, is that they can just update it and add those features in. But overall, I think UPDF is a fantastic option. The pricing is there. It's much better suited for the average person who might do things like I'm doing, where sometimes you'll get some documents that you got to sign or some documents you got to fill out. You got all those features. Sometimes you may want to edit or adjust some documents. You got those features there. And then sometimes you may want to do things for some semi-professional work where maybe you got to edit an invoice where the invoice number was wrong or the date was wrong and you got to make an adjustment. You can use it there as well. All in all, I'm really happy with the product, and I'm really glad they reached out. As I mentioned, in the past week, I've gotten tons of use out of it for my home and tabletop RPG stuff, as well as some work. And I'm going to continue to use it quite a bit as well. It's been a great product for me. And like I said, the UI and the pricing makes it a fantastic option for most people. If you do want to go ahead and check it out, you can check it out for free with the link down in the description below. You can also see how the AI features work, and there's a link with some exclusive discounts as well. And with all that said, I really do hope you found this video helpful, and if not, I at least hope you found it interesting. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll try to get them all as quickly as I can. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, Thoughts Time and Step Back, and thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you want to see any of my other videos where I talk about products or software and review them, you can check out the playlist right up here. And as always, stay safe out there. I'll see you next time.